Hi, I'm Donna. Let me just make sure it's on. Okay, because I'm trying to not do it with the front-facing camera, so I don't even know what I look like. I don't know if you can see me. So I'm going to try really hard to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to tell you about Easy Peasy and Genesis, and they're both written by Lee Giles. Easy Peasy is free online. It is all-in-one-homeschool.com. She does pre-K through 8th grade on there, and then she does 9th through 12th grade on all-in-one-highschool.com. And that is free online, but it does get to be daunting to do it all online, especially if you have more than one kid, because for Easy Peasy you're going to do, so if I have a first grader and I have a sixth grader, I'm going to let my first grader do her work, which is going to be math and English, and then I'm going to let my sixth grader do his math and English, and then we're going to do year 1 or year 2, year 3, or 4. So she got 4 years. She has 4 years of the 4 years are what you would do together. So you would have to do work separately and then together, and I like to do them all together. It just makes it easier. But and then I can do, if we're not online, then I can do language and math, and I can do their language and math at the same time, so I don't have to worry about it. Just saves time. I like to save time. So the last couple years I've been using Easy Peasy and variances therein, and kind of supplementing on my own, but this year I'm using Genesis so as my spine, but I still use her math because I don't have to be online. I can use her workbooks. So Raina, her math workbook is in the car, and I forgot to get it. So she has workbooks, and they're $8 to $11 for each year, for the whole year. So so she has math 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 5th grade is step 1, and then 6th grade is step 2. And next year I won't be using Easy Peasy. I'll be using Masterbooks, because Masterbooks has a plan for 6th and 7th grade math, for principles of mathematics. I'm sorry, 7th and 8th grade math and principles of mathematics, and you can go through both years in 1 year. So that's what I'm going to use for James next year. So this is, I did this before, and the pages didn't show up, so hopefully you can see these. This is 2nd grade. This is fact families, 2nd grade. They're really quick. This is a day, and this is a day, and this is a day. Sorry, the book's opening. So this is a day, and that's 2nd grade. 5th grade is, so they go through some facts in the beginning, and so this was his 5th grade. So 5th grade, what I liked about Easy Peasy is he can go through the whole day, and it will teach him all the way with the workbook, and I don't have to teach him anything. And I usually use the front page to teach him, and then the back page he does on his own. And then if he gets stuck, he can go online to Easy Peasy and go to lesson number 19, which is lesson 4, an introduction to division. It will link directly to the same online, will link directly to Khan Academy, and he can teach himself before he comes to me. And actually this year I have not had to do anything. He can open the book, and it's got a checklist in the front, so he can just open the book, and he's been able to go through it on his own. So he's been able to do it on his own for the most part. There were some that I had to help him, but I have not had to do a whole lot to teach him. So he's able to kind of do it on his own this year. So that's the math that I use, and I just still use Easy Peasy. I just love her. I love her style of teaching. She does some math reasoning. Okay, just making sure I'm still on. And she does some math reasoning and lessons. So you've seen the thing online. Everybody's seen it, where you've got the lesson side where you're doing, or you've got the Common Core side where they're doing, the big rectangle, and they're laughing at Common Core. That's math reasoning. And then on the right side, you've got the lesson. They're the same thing. Math is math, but you have to have both. That's how you feel it on this side, and this is on this side is how you would do it like your 28 times 24, and you would do 2, 8, or 20 and 8 and 20 and 4, and with the rectangle. So kind of how you see things and how you feel it in your heart. Math reasoning can't be taught, it can only be felt. And she does a really great job at teaching it, and it's just a really great way to do it. So like this year I use Genesis, and I'm going to try to show you Genesis. So this is Genesis, and so I'm using this as my spine this year, and basically if I just read through the page, I'm done. So here is how to use it, and then how to do these things, what's included kind of thing. And here's a materials list, and you'll see that like between day 5 and day 40, I don't really need anything, which is kind of a score. Oh, excuse me. But there's not a lot of stuff like that. She's got a really great writing instruction. Here's an editing checklist so that when he's editing his own writing, he will have that. An essay editing checklist. So this is day 1. Day 1 starts with Genesis 1. And then, so they have a memory verse, and whatever memory verse is their memory verse for that time is what they'll be learning the words in Hebrew. So, so she also talks about stressing. They do the same vocabulary. So what she has is Genesis curriculum, book of Genesis, and then she's got Exodus, and then she's got a book, Matthew, and then she's got Acts. And so you would go through, and that takes out of this book, takes out of Genesis, and the next book takes out of Exodus, and the next book takes out of Matthew, and the other one takes out of Acts. And so what she does is she uses them to teach. And so she takes those, and so the first one's Genesis, and you're going to pull the words right out of Genesis, and vocabularies right out of Genesis, and that's also in their copywork is going to be the same thing. So then so you just read through, and so this one, it talks about creating light. So you're learning about light, and the next, and the same thing here, we're learning about prehistory and history. And then here on the second day, we talk about light refraction. So then they're talking about how things are like that. I don't actually know what Bible this comes out. I don't know if it's King James or whatever. I just read it straight out of here. I was going to look it up in my Bible, but I'm just, it seems like an extra step to me. I can get through this. I can get through a day in about an hour, and I can get through it in 30 minutes if I really want to. So what I've been doing is I write down when the curriculum inspires us to look up something to kind of go down an unschooling rabbit hole. And our list, we're 26 days in, and our list is 5 pages long. And some of them are, we have not had a curriculum that inspires great thoughts and ideas like this one. So Lee Giles is Charlotte Mason. She loves Charlotte Mason, and she is classical, but she puts it together in a way that it can be traditional and it can be like guided unschooling. She also likes, in Easy Peasy, she uses more unit studies. And here she kind of does unit studies, but she's not giving you the games and things to play or the lap books to do. And here you're kind of going to have to figure that on your own, but it's a great starting point. And so I kind of use this as a jumping off point. So I go through this in about an hour. And then Raina does tracing because she's not writing. She can write, but she doesn't fully grasp the point. I'm just making sure what my time is. Okay. And so here's Raina's tracing. And so she's going to have a tracing, and she's supposed to put a finger space, but this was day 3, and then write it again and write it again. And then it's going to give her a word, her vocabulary word. She'll have to draw it. So it's a lot like what Tanya Mercer shared with A Gentle Feast. It's because it's Charlotte Mason. But it's just, I will say there are so many ways to do Charlotte Mason. You can do Charlotte Mason if you are traditional, or you can do, there's lots of variances in between. And some, like Sunlight, is supposed to be Charlotte Mason inspired, and it's really not. So, I mean, it's not some of them are more Charlotte Mason inspired than others, I will say. And it kind of, everybody makes concessions where they make concessions. So I'm not going to be judgy. I'm not a Charlotte Mason Nazi. I truly feel like you can do Charlotte Mason if you're traditional. I think there's value in everything. So in here, James would do his workbook, but we have not had any reason. She doesn't do a lot in the workbook because she's just not worksheet heavy in the Genesis curriculum. So we did something on day 1, day 2, day 6, day 11, day 16, and day 21. And then we are not going to hit it again until, and we did day 26. He did something in the spelling. And then we're not going to hit it again until day 29 for social studies. So and then I think the next one is like day 31. So like every other day he has a worksheet for the workbook. And sometimes it's spelling, sometimes it's writing, sometimes it is, what else is there in here? Grammar, vocabulary, science, Hebrew, social studies, and at the end, they're writing Hebrew and learning the different letters of Hebrew, and they will have already, by the time they hit this, because they don't hit this until like day 60 or something, by the time they've already hit this, they've already got at least 4 scripture that they've memorized in Hebrew. And I have memorized scripture in Hebrew, and it has just been really, really cool. So they're learning Hebrew, and it takes like 30 seconds. So it doesn't take a whole lot of time, and my kids can say Genesis 1 and 2 in Hebrew, and they know what all of the words are, which I think is pretty dang cool. So here's day 6, talking about the characteristics of birds, talks about sea monsters, and then it asks you to really think about what you believe about sea monsters. Biomes, let me try to find our see here, here's Ruach is spirit of God was moving over the face of the waters. So that's kind of what this is. Oh, here we go. So here's our science review on day 26. That's kind of what we've learned in science. And then here is Genesis 1 and 2 in Hebrew. Can you say Genesis 1 from memory? So then they move on, and you get a new, and you get, well, you do get a new one. I just don't know where. So they have a couple of days. Then we have our social studies review. And I found it really interesting how she could pull all of this out of the Bible. So basically you're starting with Mesopotamia if you're learning geography through the Bible. It's really, really cool. And this is $39. That is it for both of my kids. So you would cycle through Genesis, Exodus, Matthew, and then Acts. Let me make sure I didn't turn this off, okay? And then after that, you'd cycle through it again. And Charlotte Mason said that kids will learn what they're going to learn, and they'll pull out of it what they're going to pull out of it. And then we do read alouds. So we do classic read alouds, and we do... I pull off of A Gentle Feast. A Gentle Feast, you can buy her book lists for living books that are Charlotte Mason aligned. In her opinion, I have found that I love her book selections, and that list is $5, and she also links it to the public domain, so you can read it for free if you want to. And there's only a few that you would have to really buy, and then there's some that you're going to really want to buy. So if I were doing Genesis curriculum and I were using Genesis math, okay, and not Easy Peasy math, she has a math. This is $25, and it's the whole year for all ages. So it starts right off on day 1, counting backwards in ordinal numbers. It has A work, B work, C work, and D work. So if you have a 4th grader, you're going to go straight to D work. You're going to do the lesson in the beginning, and then you're going to go straight to D work. Or you can go A, B, C, and D, and then you can fill in lost spaces. So she also uses, so whatever, this is for Matthew, and I used it half of the year with James last year, and put him on track, man. Her math, I can't even begin to tell you how amazing her mental math is. I've begun to change the way that I do math mentally because of the way that it is. So basically what she does is she takes the Bible scripture, and she says, okay, so in Matthew, if I were using Genesis, I would be using Genesis Math, but I just bought Matthew because that's what I used last year. So this is $25. So I would be using the brown book and the brown book, but I didn't. So if you were just buying the teacher manuals, it would be $39 plus $25, and you really wouldn't need a whole lot outside of that except for the workbook. I did buy the answer key to the workbook, which I wish I hadn't done because it's kind of silly, and then the map book. But the map book is I've seen atlases with better maps, so I just wish I had not bought it. So you can look them up online too. So what she does is she takes, so in Matthew, when Jesus is separating the wheat from the chaff, she says, okay, in A work, that's kind of like subtraction, but in D work, it's a little bit like division. And it goes through just the way that it filters through, it's really, really great. And I think it's a little above par. I don't think that it's low. You can buy A level, B level, C level, and D level workbooks, but I did not find use in buying them. It just wasn't worth it. So if somebody wants to buy this from me, I'll sell it to you. I also last year bought Raina Learn to Read with Easy Peasy, and I don't remember how much this is, but it's super cheap. Her workbooks are very cheap. But I also found that it is exactly this book printed in the book. So you could just buy this book. And there are no lesson plans. There's nothing in it. And it kind of is just struggling through sight reading. I wish that this book had more lesson plans, and I wish that I had read the part in Charlotte Mason Home Education where she talks about how she would teach this, because the answer's in there. So she would take these words here and she would make them into flashcards, and they would practice them every day, and then she would actually probably spread this over 2 years, and so we start and go through each of them and try to recreate the story is what she would do. So there's not a lot of parent instruction. You kind of have to just know what to do, and I was a little lost. So, but if you read the Charlotte Mason books, you can do that. The copywork for Genesis, the book of Genesis, is free. The condensed copywork, and then you have cursive. It's free for the book of Genesis only. The other two you have to buy them, but they're $10. So the copywork is the same as the cursive work. It's the same work. You would just do it. So you would just write one in print and one in cursive. Or you can do one or the other, but I'm not confident. I wasn't sure how it would work, so we do both this year. And it takes me about an hour to get through this. Sometimes I can push it to 2 hours if we're really having good conversation. If I want to, I can do 2 days in a day, and it's really not a hassle. And then they do their math. They do a read aloud, and we also do classical conversations memory work, which I'll do another video for because it kind of isn't the same lady. So I just want to kind of keep all this together. But yeah, so you can do this without having read Charlotte Mason, and it would kind of put you on a track to having great thoughts and ideas, or you can do it on your own. And it's just, I find it's a really great way to be super cheap and really get my Charlotte Mason stuff that I really like. I probably wouldn't have chosen a curriculum that had so much religion in it. I was reluctant. I've been drawn to this one, but because it's so cheap and it's so worthy. But I probably wouldn't have chosen it for my kids. My kids chose it for them. They wanted to do this, and so that's why we're doing it. Otherwise, it might have been, I just didn't want to feel like I was shoving it down my kids' throats, even though we are Christian, but I wanted them to choose, and they did. So they love it. We love it. Last year we were really struggling with doing too many things, and I feel like we get a lot out of this. So I do this. I also, if we're learning about light, I find a living book off of the Gentle Feast book lists. We do our Easy Peasy math. We do classical conversations memory work, which takes 3 minutes a day. And then we do our living book selections, and we do read alouds. What else do I do? Oh, and we also do nature study or science. So they have a science and they have nature's, and we do story of the world. Story of the World's the only thing that I spend really any money on, and I've been collecting little pieces here and there. So we're on book 2, Story of the World 2. So, and it's got 40 lessons. Story of the World's one story, and then you do geography and things like that. And I can do another video for Story of the World if somebody wants that too, and show you what it is. So I hope you liked hearing about Genesis, and I'm gonna give you guys a little bit more. I'll think of some other ones that I do and try to pick them apart, because I think this is super worthy to do. Bye.